Every dissent starts with a spark which might be caused by a sting of injustice, or maybe because silence had become way too unbearable. My dear friends, we have to learn how to channelize this spark in the right way possible. If we don't do that, the legitimacy of the issue that we are fighting for gets diluted. And in this podcast, we will try to explore how to channelize this anger, how to channelize this frustration in the right way possible. And mind you, what we are going to discuss will be important given your ethics paper, given your essay paper, and more importantly, what is happening in and around us. All right, let's begin. Sir, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Umesh.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good, sir. Sir, this podcast, as we have discussed, it's about dissent, it's about disobedience. And just before we started this podcast, I observed you were having a conversation with one of the teams at Insights and you were giving them instructions as to how to go about things. Dissent and disobedience. Is there any possibility that I can bring them in my essay topic? For example, in 2025, we have this thought finds a world and creates one also. Is there any possibility I can bring that over here, sir?
Definitely. See, when we talk about dissent, the very meaning is to think differently. So, the dissent, the present context we see is not agreeing with any authority or disagreeing with any authority or speaking truth to the power in a way that, keep them accountable, to have the checks and balances. So, to do all of this, so there has to be a thought generated within your mind. It can be an idea, it can be an argument, right? It can be a question which rises out of your critical thinking abilities. So the thought which is created in a mind, so it has to be created. It cannot be created without a context. So you said a sting of injustice, right? I think it can be sting of injustice or some kind of humiliation, some kind of extreme helplessness. So I think it is in those circumstances, we see dissent and disobedience. So I think that there is a clear difference between dissent and disobedience. Also, disobedience is what we saw during freedom struggle, Gandhian act of disobedience. So not obeying with the the existing rules and laws of the government in a non-violent way. I think that is disobedience.
True, sir.
So for all of this, there has to be ground ready for this. Right. So people should be ready mentally. They should have the courage for this. Right. So I think in most of the essay topics where any kind of thinking is involved,
Any knowledge, any reasoning.
Reason, thought, or even emotion. So definitely this must be a compulsory dimension, I think. So again, this showcases critical thinking ability of the candidate, bringing these dimensions.
And if I have to apply what you've just said, in terms of dissent, yes, it is having a different opinion than the status quo in terms of thought and expression. And disobedience, it is the deliberate refusal to carry forward with any action. Now, even in essay topics like this, the empires of the future will be empires of the mind. There is a definite probability that we can bring this topic as well, dissent as well as disobedience. But the thing is this, sir, you made an excellent point when you said people have to start thinking critically. And the problem as of now in the present times is critical thinking is not so easy. And critical thinking requires a lot of energy, a lot of patience that many people don't have. And in this type of a situation, we merely become puppets.
Correct.
And any dissent, any disobedience that we showcase might be punished, might be subjected to social ostracism. If you look at Bahishkrit Bharat, if you look at what is happening with Sonam, if you look at what happened with Omar Khalid and various other people, Gauri Lankesh, somewhere down there. Yes. Yes, sir. So, you said that we need to have courage. But when these things are happening, when there is no system as such, or the system that we have is inadequate, how do you tell your kid to develop this and how to develop?
See, for this, first we have to identify certain cognitive biases that already exist in the minds of the people. And some of these cognitive biases are systematically imposed or fed into the minds of the people knowingly or unknowingly, mostly unknowingly. So for example, this confirmation bias, or there's something of group think also, and also this echo chamber effect. So I think all these biases are mainly because the way technology is working, hand in glove with the government agencies. So I think people are kept in dark, ignorant, or they are made to stick to certain ideology, defend that ideology, even when it is causing uh, pain or injustice to the large section of the people. So what is happening, even when you want to dissent about something, ask a question, you're scared that there is a huge army of the people, right? So again, because they are victims of these biases, knowingly or unknowingly, again, maybe mostly again unknowingly. So they will wage a war against you. It can be a troll phenomenon we see, or sometimes it is real. In real world, like Gauri Lankesh, Dabakar, M.M. Kalburgi, they were all assassinated. So that fear is there. Now we have to address the very fear, right? Now how do we do that? For example, Henry David Thoreau, like he was the inspiration for Mahatma Gandhi. So I think he also, for civil disobedience,
He wrote an essay on civil disobedience where he refused to pay taxes, which was going for supporting American-Mexican war, and he deliberately chose to spend a night in the jail because he did not want his taxes to go into war. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that kind of spark somewhere is required to ignite the minds of the people, but that is also deliberately in a way stifled, or what you can say, kind of it's not possible in country like in India, because some of the activists, like you also mentioned a few names, they are intimidated, they are jailed. It's a warning for others.
Their character assassinated.
They are character assassinated. At the same time, it is a lesson for others. It's a warning for others. If you toe the same line, the way these people did, that is one way of silencing, putting them in jail, permanently harassing them, silencing them. Second one, another way is to bring them into the party fold, and then ensure that their activist mindset, whatever they used to be prior to becoming, a member of a party, all those freedoms are curtailed, snatched away from them.
They want it to be diluted at the end of the day.
Diluted. I mean, this is so systematically done in India. I mean, you have to observe very carefully. We see, only through government agencies, they are harassed and all. No, there are other various softer ways of, silencing people. It can be blackmailing, or it can be, in a way, finding out certain secrets or details of that individual. There are various methods, and also luring them with something else, so that they maintain the silence.
So it's quite ironic because when you look into the British and how they ruled us, we had individuals like Gandhi, Ambedkar, and so many other people who never were afraid to showcase their dissent or disobedience. Yesterday, I was taking up a topic called as law and ethics, and how the law framing that happens in our country should be based on ethical foundations. And I had played a clip of this film Gandhi, which starred Ben Kingsley. And there is a very beautiful scene in that film where he purposefully burns the cards that were given to him, and these cards were a mark of inequality. The police officer is beating him, but nevertheless, he is not stopping. And there is a very famous quote of Gandhi as well. You can break my bones, you can kill me, then you can have my dead body, but you cannot have my obedience. Now,
You cannot break my spirit.
yeah. Now, when we look into the present times, when you said that the institutions which are supposed to give a healthy outlet to dissent and disobedience, they themselves have become shackles. What can we do at an individual level to free ourselves from these shackles as much as possible, sir?
Individually, we must not be selfish. Wherever there is selfishness, there is always compromise. And how do you make individual unselfish?
Mhm.
Right. You have to give them sufficient security, like financial, social security,
Mhm.
and if they have family, health, education, and everything.
They should have basic dignity.
Basic dignity ensured through all kinds of the
Mhm.
securities, but that is also not ensured. That is also snatched away. Like in politics, what happens? Let us say there is a constituency, there is a powerful politician, and if somebody wants to grow
Mhm.
in politics, so the powerful politician, what he does in the very first place is to weaken them financially,
Mhm.
right? Kill all their businesses,
Mhm.
right? Ensure that the authorities raid on them, harass through courts and everything, weaken them and weaken their spirit. And so when you give examples of Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King Jr.,
Rosa Parks.
Rosa Parks. So I think these are extraordinary individuals.
Mhm.
Uh, they had everything, at stake. They were willing to lose everything,
Mhm.
right? So that kind of spirit. So I think the British respected that kind of spirit. I think,
Mhm.
right, more than our own governments
Mhm.
within democracy.
Mhm.
So I believe because I keep thinking about it.
Mhm.
So Gandhi would have been jailed forever, like the way Nelson Mandela happened to Nelson Mandela, or maybe for that matter Ambedkar. Of course, Ambedkar
Mhm.
cause was slightly different in a way that he was not
Mhm.
directly fighting against the colonialists.
Mhm.
So he was fighting against a very fundamental problem that was there in the society. But in a way, I feel that they were
Mhm.
treated with more dignity
Mhm.
compared to our own activists today,
Mhm.
irrespective of any political party I'm speaking.
Mhm.
So in the present context, we tend to think this political party is more
Mhm.
ruthless against a certain activity. If you go back, I prepared during the time of 2006 to
Mhm.
2011. So I used to read news during that time also. So the voices were suppressed during that time also. It has been there.
Mhm.
Again, we have seen during the emergency, post-emergency, before emergency.
Mhm.
So when we talk about dissent and disobedience, we must, if at all someone is writing essay or thinking about these topics, truth,
Mhm.
justice, freedom, and you also mentioned about dignity.
Mhm.
So I think these are the core values.
Mhm.
Right? That they must be. Again, another one is power.
Mhm.
These are the 5 core values or dimensions that must be
Mhm.
kept in mind. So because you cannot speak about dissent and disobedience
Mhm.
without addressing these issues.
Mhm.
There must be freedom.
Mhm.
There must be individual dignity. There
Mhm.
must be just environment. There must be truthfulness,
Mhm.
right? And then again, the power must be accountable.
Mhm.
But without these things, so the dissent will definitely ensure, in the present context, it is a punishment.
Mhm. So just to add to some of the things that you've said, apart from the values that you mentioned, I feel compassion is the most important thing, because even if you look into UPSC, there is a topic: compassion is the basis of all human morality. And until and unless you develop that compassion, you will be selfish and nothing much will come out of it. And the other thing that I want my students and everyone who is listening at this point in time, develop model reasoning. What you're reading in newspapers, these are not just some words or some events happening all across the world. This is something that affects you even without you knowing it. So give some time, reason it out, and try to come out with methodologies through which you can act at your level. If you don't do that, things will start going in the way they're going. And here I have to mention a psychological concept which you can use even in your examination. Stanley Milgram, he gives this concept of agentic state. Now, most of the times when we are going about our life, we become passive recipients. We don't think. And until and unless you change that, nothing much will happen. It's going to keep repeating the way we have been saying in the last couple of decades. And as Sir told, it's irrespective of political parties, be it in India or anywhere in the world in the present times. So now let us go back to dissent and disobedience. It's an important aspect of our life to dissent, because we're not going to agree with everyone that we're going to meet. We're not going to be obedient with all the customs, regulations that are there. And you spoke about being imposed, right? Sir, why is it so important for an individual to have these attributes, dissent as well as disobedience? People are called as monsters, but I don't feel a person who is dissenting or who is being disobedient, they're not necessarily monsters. They're not necessarily anti-national or prostitute or things like that.
Urban Naxal.
Yeah.
So it's very important because we are all victims in a way without our knowledge again. So we sometimes what happens, let us say that there is an IT engineer earning handsome salary and living a high quality life in some metro city in India. Doesn't mean that anything that is happening around them in the government, within the government, in the society, doesn't mean that it is not affecting them. It has bearing on their lives.
So just to stop you for a few seconds, I don't use so much of social media, but I use Reddit because it gives me a sense of anonymity and I like that. When I'm using Reddit and I look into the Bangalore page of Reddit, almost every other day, there are images, there are posts related to Bangalore traffic. People post them. There is a long write-up for it. People come in, people are angry. But the question that I always get when I see all these posters, is this activism? Is this dissenting at the end of the day? Is this enough?
No, that's not enough. That is not activism. That's a very easy, armchair critics. So you are there from your comfort zone, comfortable position. You are, criticizing the government. But anyway, that is a small act of dissent, maybe we can say. But it must be on the street. It must be, in the real physical world, right? Otherwise, maybe it can be a book also. It can be a manifesto also, right? The kind of communist manifesto we saw, it changed the world. So it can be a manifesto also. But that kind of activism or self-motivation is very difficult in current time because of the growing individualism and self-centeredness, right? So we want to be just secure, happy with my wife, my kids, send them to good school and live a happy life, travel now and then. So we tend to disassociate ourselves from the surrounding social relationships environment. So and also we have this contempt towards government also, right? So we constantly keep complaining about it, but it is not like that actually. So every single decision of the government, every single policy, every single legislation has huge impact on each and every one of us. And it is just because you are well off doesn't mean that the issue is addressed. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಗಾದೆ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಬೆಕ್ಕು ಕಣ್ಣು ಮುಚ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹಾಲು ಕುಡಿದ್ರೆ, something like that. So for like I remember one incident. I mean, this is not related to what we are arguing. Arab Spring. In Tunisia, what happened? This guy Bouazizi.
He burnt himself.
So he was constantly seeking employment. He didn't get employment. I think he wanted to sell something. He was not given permission. He was harassed. And
I think they expected bribe money from him.
Bribe also. It went to so extreme. He burnt himself. And that triggered the fall of big dictators in Egypt. In Egypt, Libya,
and what
Tunisia,
in Syria as well.
Exactly. It spread to Syria also, and then we saw similar thing happening in Nepal. So there is a section of population who are not happy with the system. It is there within them. All they need is a kind of trigger, a tipping point, right? So I think that tipping point can be arrived only when we have lots of conversations about these issues, when we have lots of discussions, both private, public. There should be lots of activism also. For that, everyone should contribute, right? So if it is only online, it can be made invisible. Right. So it doesn't reach to the grassroots. It doesn't reach to the the real people. So it is in the real physical world, the conversations, activism, small protests, and discussions. So that is what brings a change or a revolution or big accountability.
And I think that is the reason why Lokpal, it gathered so much of steam when Anna Hazare was leading it, and the Nirbhaya protest, or what happened in Hyderabad. People have to come out of the digital domain, people have to participate in the real world, and this is where change can happen much sooner. We're not saying that digital domain dissenting and disobedience don't work, but the pace might be a little bit limited. And just to add on to what you just said, sir, if I have to bring some philosophers here, Socrates said, when it comes to dissent, when it comes to disobedience, these are highest form of duty of a citizen. When we talk about Immanuel Kant, he said, dissenting and disobedience at the end of the day is what brings progress for a country.
And John Stuart Mill also talked about the...
Yes, sir. And if I have to bring Hegel, he said, it is the dissent which fuels the conversations that sir was talking about. And whatever conversation you're having, have it in a way where you're not giving a name, you're not tagging a person as anti-national or telling him to go to Pakistan or things like that. It doesn't make much sense at the end of the day. And sir, can I ask you a personal question here? Were you so irritated and frustrated with the system? Is your entry into politics a form of dissent and disobedience with the status quo?
No, it is form of dissent, disobedience, total dissatisfaction, with the kind of governance we have, the kind of rulers we have today. They are not empathetic, they're not compassionate. As you said, compassion is the very foundation of all the other values. So they're not compassionate, they are power hungry, they are greedy, and they are detached from the ground realities. And they all have become elites in their own
They have
way.
not seen poverty as much as we are seeing.
Their grandfathers who might have seen. And the most of the politicians we have today, they are drawn from big rich business fields, and many from the existing political families, dynasties, and political families. So family politics, what we say. So they haven't seen the pains, the ground realities. So that breed of politicians, I think, started diminishing in 70s, 80s, and 90s. Those who built this nation, through their hard work and sweat. So now what we have, there are like few, people left here and there. So in another 5 years, that kind of breed of politicians, who came from grassroots level. So they will be vanishing from Indian political scene. So majority of them are like their children, grandchildren, wives, and their relatives. So this is very dangerous to Indian democracy, because whatever things we are discussing, ultimately their concern is to protect their power, their wealth, everything. So to protect everything, anything that is seen as threat, an individual asking a question, anybody who is ambitious, in terms of government job, in terms of becoming businessmen. So even they are also stopped. If somebody wants to become a social activist, that is also stopped. RTI Act, the very instrument of making government accountable, is an indirect form of, let's say, dissent and disobedience maybe. So that is totally diluted. Hundreds of thousands of RTI activists have been killed throughout the country. Some of them are like, it never appears in news also nowadays, right? And they are labeled in a different way, in a negative way also, in their own respective villages and cities. So this phenomenon is continuously happening. So can you just sit in your comfortable position and keep talking about it, watching about it? So I went to the ground, and I've been fighting. And when I speak about entering the physical world, making a small changes, trying to keep government accountable. So in my own way, I've been doing, I'm visiting lots of government schools, highlighting the issues there. So I'm, highlighting the situation of roads in my constituency. And next day people are going and, filling those potholes. So, and then the many issues, right? Whether it is student issue or anything. So in the real world, we have to, from our own respective position and using our own current capacity, whatever it is. So we have to do something about it. Otherwise, the future is really bad.
Absolutely, sir. Many people think for me to do anything for this country, they don't have the capabilities for it. Howsoever, if you look into UPSC essay topics, they give you tools through which you can dissent and also showcase your disobedience. For example, there is this essay topic, the poets are unacknowledged legislators of the world. If you take movies, if you take books, if you take philosophers, if you take religion, they all have dissented in their own way. For instance, when I talk about book, George Orwell's 1984, if I talk about movies, Rang De Basanti, if I talk about religion, Bhakti and Sufi movement in itself was a dissent and disobedience towards prevalent customs and traditions. And to be honest with you, Basavanna and his Vachana Sahitya was a dissent and disobedience showcased in utmost ethical way with regards to what was happening. You can do it. It's just that you have to find the tool that you can resonate with. Being silent is not good enough. Silence kills more than tobacco these days.
Especially when it comes to aspirants, why they don't like to be part of any protest or activism, because they're scared about their future.
Yes, sir.
The prospects of cracking this examination, it is a waste of time for them. Right? You have to study fundamental rights in Lakshmikant. You have to, if 1 hour went away, is given for other purpose like protest and all, you are compromising your preparation. Second one, if there is any FIR against you, then nothing will happen. There are people who are convicted, they have cracked the examination. So FIR doesn't disqualify you. And then you become very selfish. You want to change the country, but again, see, in any form. I mean, you can blog about it. You can write articles. Maybe you can make short videos also. You should actually do it. Right? As an aspirant, somehow, as I discussed of conversations and discussions, maybe you visit a school or maybe visit a college. Talk about it. Maybe you attend a literary fest. So raise questions there, ask questions, have conversation with them. In your own capacity, as I said, in your own capacity, doesn't mean you have to be well earning individual. Whatever you are, wherever you are, you can always be an agent of change.
Yeah, true, sir. But the thing is this, if I have to be the devil's advocate here, how do you advise students not to think of exams? And if you look at USA, over there, he is imposing so much of rules and restrictions on Harvard University, and the people who want to be part of it, their social media profile is being properly researched. In such type of an instance, exams are important for us, our dreams are important for us, but how to think a little bit higher so that these things are not prioritized so much?
I think one must be very ambitious. When we say ambitious, IAS exam is not the ultimate ambition. Ambitious for the life, throughout the life. You have to grow bigger than your current role and current dreams. Also. For that, constant self-empowerment is very important. You have to read a lot, read lots of literature, visit lots of places, meet lots of good people, and then good places also. So you have to be constantly on the move. The self-empowerment is extremely important. That enhances your self-worth, self-esteem, and then there comes a point that IAS is not your ultimate goal. You will have that self-confidence even if you fail in this examination, to get better opportunity for yourself and for the nation also, to build something, to create something. To create something, you need to have that courage, confidence, and lots of knowledge and skills also. This examination preparation gives all these opportunities, but we don't see this preparation from that perspective. Merely reading books, memorizing few things, and writing the examination has become the norm. So if you step beyond that, every week in Bangalore, I suggest people visit lots of literary festivals are happening, theatre activities are going on, India Exhibition Center. So there are so many good symposiums and conclaves are taking place. Palace grounds, you see lots of activities.
Chitra Kala Parishad.
Chitra Kala Parishad. Yeah. So these people are not going only. You can go to IASC. Nobel laureates come and go, they deliver talk. I think we are stuck here. So that is the problem. So when you involve in all these activities, so that is when you start questioning. Because it reaches a point where you're not selfish anymore. Because when you get lots of exposure, when you understand the realities around you, so that builds compassion in you. So that compels you to be much more than your own selfish goal. So I think that is what the students should do.
And just to add one more layer to it, in terms of UPSC in ethics paper, they had asked a question: in armed forces, laying down the life of yourself in the service of the country is called as martyrdom. What does patriotism mean to you in a common man's point of view? For me, true patriotism is dissenting and showcasing the disobedience when laws are unjust, when events and people around you are that. So showcase the true patriotism. A patch of badges, a uniform, or some designation, 3-letter designation, doesn't make you a patriotic person. And as Socrates said, at the end of the day, it is your highest duty to dissent and be disobedient when it is unjust. So, the reason we are having this conversation is in the last couple of days and also months, people who have been showcasing dissent and disobedience, they have been branded, they have been arrested. And there was also one incident where, on the current Chief Justice of India, there was a person who hurled a shoe. And the reason why he did that is because he felt the Chief Justice of India had brought disrespect to the religion that he is following. Many people are following in our country. It's not just enough to have dissent and disobedience. How you showcase that is also important. What are your views in this regard, sir?
Earlier, we talked about these biases, cognitive biases. So when you think that your religion, your ideology is supreme, something that you truly believe in, is questioned or is shown in a negative light, or it has happened in other countries. Like there was a Danish cartoonist who was beheaded for cartoon and prophet. So we have seen that. So this kind of religious fundamentalism. So it has been always there. It is there even in the most progressive societies also. In Australia also, we saw mass shootings in a church.
In USC, there was Ku Klux Klan at one point.
New Zealand, yes. More than like why it happens, definitely it must be condemned. There is also, in the case of Chief Justice of India, Gavai, there's also a caste angle to it, right? Somebody who has risen, from lower caste to the highest position in the judiciary. There is always a section of people within the judiciary. It also within any institution, when someone rises like that, there is always this jealousy, prejudice. There is intolerance. We have seen in villages also. If somebody is riding a horse, if a Dalit wants to Bharat, by horse, I think. So they were also harassed or beaten or killed.
Sorry, even for the act of serving ghee in their weddings, they were beaten up.
So this is there like since so many centuries. That bias is there, and that bias is reinforced because of how our politicians behave, how our politicians protect them. So that has been there in so many states, and we have seen that. So in that context, we have to see this, and it is in a way, it is just what you call symptomatic. Largely, it is evident everywhere. So here at highest level, when it happens, we have seen lots of condemnation. Even the Prime Minister also has condemned. Leader of opposition party has condemned. So many people have condemned. But I believe everyone is part of the problem. Everyone, in some way, they have contributed in some way in their own capacities, at various levels. Everyone has contributed to this problem.
Sir, if I have to be the devil's advocate here again, there have been instances where officers on their faces, inks were thrown. There were instances where certain Supreme Court judges were criticized because they used to bring a lot of mythology, and these judges belong to other caste as well, upper caste as well. Why are we politicizing this issue? Is it not just a statement which was given by Chief Justice of India Gavai, which hurt the religious sentiments of people, and probably that person could have handled this situation a much better way rather than how he did? Why bring caste? Why bring religion into this?
No, like you said, the politicization of the issue. So today, the politics is more about how to grab power. So one of the quickest way of grabbing power is you have to put the other party in utmost negative light whenever there is an opportunity, so that you turn the public opinion or the tide against your adversary in politics. So that is what they do, irrespective of who is the victim here, right? Irrespective of, they don't care about dignity of that officer and individual. It is instantly politicized. So that culture must not be there in that political culture, should not be there in country like India. First of all, there is no healthy relationship between the ruling party and the opposition anymore. It is totally polarized. It is partisan, right? So that is what is happening in the US also, right? So this extreme polarization. So that is when you bring every dimension into it, and you tend to politicize. So there is no real empathy here. So I think See, it is all because of a dilution of all these values at a grassroots level. To be in power, it's very easy to create narratives nowadays against an individual or against an institution or something. So using again technology, your army of trolls, right? So we as common people, we have to be really worried about this phenomenon because we are the victims. We are going to be the victims.
True, sir. And just to add two more things to what we are having a conversation about, Markandeya Kaju, the former Supreme Court judge, he said that what happened was wrong, but at the same time, he also made an observation that CJI Gavai must have been a little bit more careful when he made a comment about one of the major gods in Hinduism. And what do you think, sir? You don't agree
See,
with that?
Ambedkar burnt Manusmriti in public, right? There were lots of criticism against him.
Even
Uh,
to this day,
you-
there is a lot of
Yeah,
criticism.
even today, people threatened him, right? I mean, I think they are in their own capacity, in their own rights to express their opinion on anything, right? So I think it was not like very negative in a way, whatever their opinion. So both are entitled. The right is entitled to express their opinion, however extreme it is. The left is center to like whatever it is. So they are also entitled to express their opinion. There should be healthy debate and discussion about it. You counter through like debate. You counter through facts, ideas, generate new ideas, whatever you want. But this is a form of violence when you throw a shoe at them, even when you insult them. Right, again it is made personal also. Suddenly you get into their personal lives, that is also violence, right? I think that behavior is not for country like India, because the kind of heritage tradition we have had, and the foresight, the vision of the forefathers, the people who gave us constitution, the people who gave us freedom. So I think it is all huge disrespect for them.
Sir, you encourage us, be it faculties, mentors, or evaluators, to learn the things from the source. We were having a podcast not long ago and we were discussing most of the content that we have read is from the standard books, right? We read A.L. Basham for ancient medieval history and conversation went on like that. One of the things that I remember reading in terms of Constituent Assembly debate was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar told at one point in time civil disobedience and things like that. It made sense when Britishers were ruling us. Now that we have had democracy, those kind of things are obsolete. Whatever dissent, whatever disobedience you want to showcase, that must be done within the constitution's chowkat. And this is where I feel the guy who threw his shoes at CJ Gavai made a mistake. And just to bring one comparison here, a couple of decades ago, when George Bush was the president of USA, he had been to Iraq. And one of the journalists in Iraq, he threw his shoes at him. Now, do you see that incident also in the same light as we have discussed now with CJ Gavai incident, or is it something different, sir?
So it's similar. I mean, throwing shoe at someone, throwing something at someone, right? It may be an act of dissent for them, but there is a more saner way, of more mature way of doing that. So I think that should be the way forward. Now this we have to address the intolerance part. Why there is lack of tolerance? Why this intolerance is increasing? So Indian civilization, we are so proud. We keep telling we are tolerant, and I have thought about it. It is not about tolerant, it is more about cowardice. It is not because we were tolerant that we accepted everything that came in the world. It was mainly because we were cowards, or maybe we were so much struggling with our own lives or survival. So that was the case. Now I think in this case, when you build lots of institutions, when we have built lots of checks and balances, when we have a strong social contract. So in this era, the tolerance should be institutionalized. It should be there at every level.
Yes,
So that kind of tolerance is missing in universities, is missing in colleges, because you weakened
family WhatsApp group.
with family WhatsApp group, because you have weakened the institutions, you have weakened such kind of debates and discussions. Students are not allowed to protest. They are not allowed to hear a dissenting view. So many programs are cancelled. Some dignitary who has a very contradictory or dissenting view on something is invited. The programs are cancelled. So you are not exposing them. That's what I say, cognitive. You kept them in some echo chambers. So in real physical world also. So I think that must be dismantled. There should be a free flow of information, a free flow of ideas. People should be allowed to discuss and debate these issues. So only when this happens, I think the tolerance is solid. It builds up, and then you won't throw shoes, ink, or anything like that.
So, a few excellent points that you made. Ethics is same for everyone. Cannot differ. The standards cannot differ as such, at least in cases that we've discussed. And the second thing that you made a point was about tolerance. It's not something which is just on paper. It is something which should be internalized. And the third thing that I want to highlight here is we have this French philosopher Voltaire, who famously told, thinking is like a privilege. You enjoy it and let others also enjoy the same thing. He was also the person who told, I might disagree with you, but I will fight till the end of my life to make sure that you have an opinion. And keeping this in mind, we have to ensure that dissent and disobedience where required must be there. Howsoever, as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar very nicely said, within the constitutional chowkat, my dear friends. So we've had a rich conversation. And in this rich conversation, when it comes to dissent and disobedience, we have included psychological references, philosophical book references. And if you have any other anecdotes or incidents to share, please feel free to share. And my dear friends, the whole purpose of this podcast and all other podcasts on Insights platform has always been to encourage knowledge, has always been to encourage reasoning. Incidents like this are quite normal, but when it happens, let's not politicize them to such an extent that the seeds of hatred and anger grow unnecessarily. At the end of the day, when you're measuring the moral efficiency of dissent or disobedience, remember the intention matters, the circumstances matter, and the nature of object, the consequences it gives rise to, all these things matter. My dear friends, having said this, I'm just going to end with one quote. No matter what dissent and disobedience you have, and you want to win, but remember, it's not just about winning. It's also about winning in such a way that you preserve the soul of this beautiful country. That is what matters the most. Thank you for being with us.
So I was thinking about these IAS aspirants, when they become IAS officers, right? So now you don't dissent, you are in a safe zone, secure zone. You prepare exam and then you crack and become an IAS officer or IPS officers. So how these people see dissent? These people are going to silence the dissent that is there in the society, or they themselves silence their own dissent because there is an higher authority. So the kind of relationship between bureaucracy and politics today is, one should be wary about it. So in the aspirant stage itself, if you learn to the things you mentioned, the critical reasoning, thinking skills, and ask right questions, talk about them, have conversation, I think as an officer you will be more empathetic towards to discern between what is right and wrong, what should be allowed, what should not be allowed. So I think this podcast should enlighten.
It teaches you how to walk the tightrope. Even when you become a civil servant, the dissent must be there, but within the constitutional chowkat, as we have repeated. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Umesh.